Assalamu alaikum, Nacer.
Alaikum
All
salam
good?
wa rahmatullah. All good.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. Happy to see you in the podcast
Yeah.
studio. Can we call it the first episode?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say so.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first one.
Yeah, we're gonna speak about a lot of things. I know you and me, we can create. I mean, I think it's your gift.
Yeah.
You can literally go and talk about anything and makes it really interesting. Yeah. So tell us about yourself. Like, who's Nacer? I know you've got like a very insane background
Yeah.
in football and athletic world,
Yeah.
but you shifted and you pivoted towards something
Correct.
we don't see a lot of people do.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So I was born and raised in the Netherlands.
Yeah.
My father's Moroccan, my mother's Dutch. So both identities.
Yeah.
So early on, started playing football. And early on, they saw that I was talented. So I grew up to go to a professional football school there in the Netherlands. And from 15 years old, I started playing national team. And then,
Oh, really?
Yeah, so
Wow.
Dutch national team. And then scouting system of Arsenal, Army.
Yeah.
And they brought me to England. So there's basically where it all started. I'm skipping a lot, but
Yeah.
that's where the real world started, basically.
Really?
Yeah.
Like in what term?
So in the Netherlands, you're in a football school, and they're all Dutch kids, obviously from different backgrounds, like me, Moroccan, Turkish, whatever. But there you got put with all the best players from all around the world, all different nationalities, all different cultures.
Got you.
And you early on start recognizing different cultures, different ways of, acting. You just learn quickly, like how to manage with people, So I think that really opened up my world. And plus also the pressure is higher. Like there's more pressure.
More competition, you mean?
More competition.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly. The train goes really fast.
They say the competition, the harder your competition is, the faster you're going to grow.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. Like you're being pushed, even though you don't notice it, like you're being pushed really fast. Because I remember when I was playing for Arsenal, I made my debut at 17 years old. So I was playing really good. And in my second game for the first team, I got injured.
Yeah.
So I dislocated my shoulder. So I was out for like 3 months.
Oof.
Yeah, and that really opened up my eyes, because before that I was seen as the best player of the youth academy. I was really put on like status. But when I got injured, like nobody talked to you. Like it's different. Like you fall down really fast. And so then you see that other kids are replacing you and getting those chances that you were working for all that time. And so you see the train goes really fast. You have to, you can't afford to get injured. You can't afford to have a weak match. You just have to be consistent each and every time.
If you're gonna miss one day or like 1 week, you're gonna see yourself replaced quickly.
Yeah, definitely.
Because people are seeking your opportunity.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
And the quality is high. So you don't have that time. Whereas, for example, if you're in a different environment where the quality is not that good, you can afford to skip 3 months. But in a high level quality environment, you have to be consistent.
Because other kids are waiting for
exactly.
your
Everybody's hungry.
Yeah.
Even though like in the changing room we are friends, at the end of the day, there are just 11 spots on the pitch.
Got you.
And everybody wants it. And they're all there for a reason. Like with me, my dad came with me, so I wasn't alone. But a lot of kids, they are alone there. They're just living with other families. So the whole day, they just focus on training, playing, and their objective is taking your spot.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you. But you said it opened up your eyes into other things.
Yeah.
What are the other things that you've understood?
So for me, first of all, again, when I made my debut for the first team, I dislocated my shoulder, and that was the first big injury I had. And due to this, I started asking more questions about life. All right. So I had the money at the early age. I was earning already good money at 17 years old.
Mashallah.
I had the status right? People admired me. People looked, okay, he's playing for Arsenal, big club. But I felt empty inside. Like I didn't feel happy. Also the people around me in the changing room, I saw there's no happiness there. So I was asking myself questions. What is really the purpose of life? Is it going to training? Yeah, coming back home, playing PlayStation, going out with friends, shopping, eating, go sleep, again training, all the time, the same cycle.
Yeah.
Right? So I started asking myself, is this the real purpose of life? Right? And so from there, my journey started as, trying to answer those questions. Okay. And then I started researching more about Islam. Because even though you see me now with lihya, with beard and everything, and practicing Muslim, I didn't grow up in that environment.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
So for me, it was also a new, chapter, trying to understand Islam and etc. So for me, that was the, even though at that time I was working so hard to get in the Arsenal first team, and I managed to do that. I made my debut, and I remember that day I came on the pitch, and I was really dominating. Like I was getting on and making a change within the first team. And then, subhanAllah, in 1 second, I turned around and I dislocated my shoulder. Wow. And I've never had injuries. And I remember at that time, Philip Senderos, he was a player at Arsenal. He said to me, Nacer, you have a dislocated shoulder, stay down on the floor. And I wanted to get up, but I couldn't because it was dislocated and hurting a lot. So they stopped the match, or they stopped the game. And the physiotherapist came inside, and I said to him, what's going on? He said, your shoulder's dislocated. I said, okay, pull it back. I want to keep going. He started laughing. He said, no, it's impossible. You can't. You have to get out. I said, no, please. And I remember I was taking off a stretcher and getting inside the changing room. And barely anyone of my own teammates came up to me and say, how are you doing? Wow. How is it going? Only except for one player from Blackburn Rovers, because we are playing against Blackburn Rovers. I never forget that. Rodi Santa Cruz. His name is surname Santa Cruz. He was a big player at that time. And he came up to me. I never forget. Look how kindness is, right? If you're just a little bit kind in moments of somebody having problems, you will never forget.
Now look at you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Even now I get goosebumps thinking about it. Wow. And I never forget him.
Wow.
And Rocky Santa Cruz, I think his name. And I say, thank you very much for asking. And I remember I was in the changing room having so much pain. And Arsene Wenger, he was the coach at that time, big coach, everybody knows him. He just from a distance, he was observing me. And he was just asking from a distance, Nacer, how are you? I said, I'm good. That's it. Not coming towards you. And we won that game as well. So there was no reason for, being moody or whatever. He could have come to me, give me 1 minute of your time and effort, because everybody looks up to you. They didn't. On the way back, we were in the private jet. We flew back. Nobody spoke to me.
Wow.
Yeah, nobody. And that really started make me thinking, right? Going from top player, best in academy, etc., going all the way down. And from there on forward, I went in rehabilitation, right? Getting the shoulder back, etc. But again, the train went so fast, and new players came, and so it was time to move on, right? Go to a different club. Yeah.
So when you said nobody looked at you when you were down, you just reminded me of the fact that you either win in this life, or you just, the train will move on, and nobody, when you're winning, people are around you. Everyone seems happy for you.
Yeah.
But as soon as something hits, it's really hard to find the real people around you.
Yeah.
So I guess that experience made you reflect into Deen, but also into other places in life.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think that might have been the first moment I started thinking also about things after football, right? So even though at that moment I didn't really starting doing business or whatever, but I started investing in personal development, reading books about it, and my bigger brother, he was already, he's 3 years older, so he gave me books about personal development, so that helped. But definitely that opened my eyes, because you're just a number. That's it. In football, and I think even in business, 100%. If you have employees or if higher management, they're 100%. Just a number. If they don't perform, they are not consistent, they're gone.
100%.
But at that age, you're not thinking about that. It's not registering yet,
100%,
right? You just think, oh, everybody cares about me and everybody, but it's just because you're performing. The moment you're not useful anymore, done.
That's exactly what happened to me. In my previous companies, I think it was one of the previous companies that I started working with.
Yeah.
I thought I'm the best. Like whenever I produce a video, everyone's like, "Bah, that's a sick video. You got us this client. Oh, this client is happy, very happy with you."
Yeah.
But as soon as you start reflecting, and I started similarly to you, I started, okay, so am I going to stay working for this company my entire life, or I'm going to do something for myself?
Yeah.
And I started going out. Maybe like I took some holidays and reflecting on myself, experienced new opportunities, like looking around. And then as soon as I left, they just replaced me. I'm like, yeah, I'm not staying anymore. That 1 month period,
Yeah.
you know, they got a new guy. I trained him. All right, you can leave. And that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. I've built this clients. You've got this client because of me. I'm like, you know, the ego hits. But in reality, that's it. If you're leaving, there's another guy who's going to replace you. And I guess this is what happened to you.
Yeah, look, when you get older, now I'm 34. Obviously, at that time I was 17.
Yeah.
Now you understand that even this transaction we are doing, it's a value transaction.
100%.
I mean, you provide value to me, I provide value to you.
You always say this, Nacer.
Yeah.
Like for people who doesn't watch, you always say this.
Yeah. And it's a good thing. I mean, it should be like that, right? Everybody should give each other like value, right? If it's only one-sided, that's a bad relationship. Right.
Correct.
So, but at that moment, you don't understand that, right? You think everybody cares about you because you're performing well, etc. But at the end of the day, like you have to keep providing value to whatever place you are.
All right. So Nacer, so you went from that injury to a certain place where you had to look for the other alternatives.
Yeah.
Maybe you started working on yourself, as you said, investing in yourself. You start reading books. You start looking at your big brother.
Yeah.
And then what else? What are the stuff that, you know, changed?
Well, I think there's a certain part within from 17 until 21, I would say. And that was funny as well, it was a moment where still things didn't go my way, right? And I was researching Islam and trying to, you know, start practicing Islam, but I wasn't. Because still I wasn't convinced or I wasn't yet ready. So things went really bad. Like I went to a new club, it didn't go as planned, a lot of issues at home. So at one moment, I remember the contract of Arsenal was expiring. And so imagine going from one of the best players in the academy to no contract anymore. And barely a club was interested.
Wow.
There was only small clubs with small salaries willing to offer me. So what happened to my ego? Because at that time I was quite, you know, I had quite an ego because obviously everybody's praising you, etc. So you're being like pushed in a corner, being humbled, right? By Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And at that time I didn't know how to pray, etc. But I knew due to the lectures that you can ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala directly. You can ask God directly.
Yeah, He
will listen. Yeah. So I was walking one time and not having a club, contract expired. And I said, I made dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. I said, look, Allah, open my doors and provide me something good. And I'll promise you, I will worship you as you should be worshipped.
Subhanallah.
Yeah. And
you made a deal with God.
Exactly. Well, I didn't know what to say, but I was so emotional at that time. Even now, it brings me back to that moment.
SubhanAllah.
And 2 days later, an agent called. We never spoke to him and we never knew him. And he called my dad and he said, look, I have a club for you in Austria. And they want to trial Nacer. And imagine going from Premier League to Austria. And now Austria is quite a good league, but at that time, nobody knew about Austria. So I was being humbled again. And not only that, I had to prove myself, right? I had to prove myself. It was not like they gave me the contract. I had to prove myself.
Got you.
And so I had no other choice. I was put in a corner. I had to go, thinking that this is a bad place to go, but I had no other option. And so I arrived, and I remember the first training I had. One of the bigger players in that team, he came up to me and he said, "Why are you here?" He said, you're from Arsenal. Why are you here? And I thought to myself, yeah, I don't know, man. I just had to. I had no other option. But again, he humbled me. Because looking, okay, you're from Arsenal. You come all the way here to our club. And that match, we had a friendly match. And I scored twice. And they immediately wanted to sign me. And from that moment forward, I teach myself how to pray by just using YouTube. I just put YouTube in front of me and I do as he instructed. And so from that moment, the moment I signed, I started practicing. And within 1 year, I signed $1 million contract in Monaco.
Wow, mashallah.
Yeah. So in 1 year time, so imagine going from no club wanting you, barely a salary, no status anymore, going in 1 year time, one of the top scorers in the Europa League, and signing with the big club in France. And signing a big contract for 4.5 years. Yeah. Look how things can change.
Exactly. Especially, you know, when you go back to God in your down.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people think that when you need God and you haven't been practicing and worship Him, you know, Shaitan say, oh, you haven't been practicing God, you have been practicing your prayer, you're really bad Muslim, you know? Yeah. How come when you are down now, you ask Him, isn't it? It's bad.
Yeah, selfish.
But in reality, God sometimes puts us in a really bad scenarios where we need to, you know, remember Him and
correct.
You know, like look at you now.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, it's so true. What you say is so true. I mean, like looking at the injury at that match when I was 17 for Arsenal, that could have, I thought it was the worst thing that could happen. I was working so many years to get to that moment. And look, it was taken away from me. And I remember, subhanAllah, I spoke to my father-in-law at that time. And he told me, it's a good thing that it happened to you. And I couldn't comprehend. I thought to myself, what's this person saying? It hurt so much and I was working so hard for it. But obviously he had different capacity of, you know, understanding Islam and all of this. Yeah. So, but now I look back on his words and I understand.
It is good.
It was good for me. It was the best thing that happened.
Meaning like sometimes all the odds, it's like this is a bad thing. But in reality, the God's plan is like way better than what you think. Because we have a short, we don't see further. Yeah. You know, but God has all the vision. You know
all wise, all knowing.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Nacer, in terms of money, like if I would ask you, what is money for Nacer? Like, what do you think about money? Like, how do you deal with it? Yeah. I mean, sorry, but between brackets, you've experienced money when you were a kid.
Yeah, correct.
17, you're a kid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how is it for you?
Yeah, so that's a good point and good question. When I was 17, I was already making good money, right? But at that time, I was just being focused on the process, like just becoming a professional football player. That was my main focus. And my father, really, he did a great job. He was managing my money. He was saving my money. So he did show me from a young age, you know, how to manage money, right? So that even though I wasn't really interested in the money, he did show me how to manage it. And later, so when I did get to Monaco and signing this big contract and getting this kind of money on my bank account, now it started reflecting. So, wow, this is crazy money. Like, now what I'm gonna do with it? Like, you need to invest, you know? Yeah. And from that moment forward, really, I started like trying to, nobody was teaching me. We had internet at that time, so I was just using it. Like, okay, real estate. Like, how do you invest in real estate, right? And started thinking about it. Having meetings with real estate agents. I remember in Monaco, I had just meetings with real estate agents and just asking them questions, a lot of questions, being interested. And so bit by bit, you know, you start appreciating the money, because at a young age, you don't really appreciate it. Even now, if I speak to my kids, they don't understand the value of 1,000 dirhams.
100%.
Right?
100%.
So at that time, I had to teach myself, okay, what's the value actually of money? And I remember in Monaco, the real estate agent, he told me a parking spot was like almost 1 million euros. Just for the parking spot.
Wow.
So even though you're in Monaco, it's not also like, it's not applicable to the entire world, right? because for 1 million euros in the Netherlands, you can buy a huge villa, for example. So even this, you're starting to learn. But I would say from the moment I signed this big contract, the process for me to start, okay, what I'm going to do with this money started, you know, and bit by bit, starting to invest, you know, open a business.
Yeah.
And learn along the way.
Yeah, so this takes me to another question. I was always wondering, what was the biggest challenge for Nacer at that time, transitioning from football to business?
Yeah.
Like, what was the reason of you translating to business word?
Yeah, this is a good question. I mean, I see it more as like freedom. Like in football, you're really restricted. At the end of the day, you're an employee. Like you need to perform, you need to be on time, you need to be consistent.
You need to score.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
can't make many mistakes.
Yeah.
You need to score.
Yeah.
Like, because at the end of the day, they pay you a lot of money. They don't have patience. A season is just like 8 months. You have to perform in those 8 months, right? Whereas when you start business, there's more flexibility in the sense of more creativity. Like you can open up, you can make mistakes. You're your own boss, and you can learn around, along the way. So for me, the transition was quite easy, to be honest. It was easy because finally I felt free. You can, be creative, open your mind, take choices.
Yeah.
See opportunities and grab them.
Correct.
And you're your own boss. You have your own responsibility.
Got you. But they say in business, you gonna learn from your mistakes.
Yeah.
So you need to make a lot of mistakes at the beginning.
Yeah.
Like especially what happened me and Khalid here. We've made a lot of mistakes. Like a lot of people are asking, how did you guys come up to this point really quick?
Yeah.
I mean, no, it's not quick. I mean, come in my shoes, like wear my shoes. If you're gonna see this trouble at the beginning, like this, we've made a lot of mistakes.
Yeah.
But we adapt and we learned quickly.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But in terms of your athletic background, does that help you to become like a very successful business owner?
Yeah, it definitely helped me. Like, I mean, from a young age, you're already very disciplined, even though it's mostly also eccentric, meaning the coaches are pushing you, the club is pushing you, So in that sense, it's better to have this intrinsic motivation. This is also something you need to develop later on. But definitely we had structure, we had discipline, we had goals in mind. Like I said, I was from 6 years old, just focused becoming professional football player. And along the way, you start crystallizing that goal, right? And now it becomes Arsenal. And then you get the disappointment, which in business happens a lot. You get a lot of disappointments, a lot of hurdles.
Yeah.
And then you need to handle those and get over them, and and start looking again. Okay, how can I solve the issue, and how can I become better each day? Like you said, everybody might look at Khalid and you and see all the nice things and all that. But trust me, that's only the fruits that you see.
Correct.
But the way to build that, the way to get to that, it takes a lot of effort, a lot of time, and a lot of issues, a lot of problems. You need to solve and get over it each time. So yeah, football definitely helped me. Also, like in the sense of managing people, right? If you're as a football player, I've played for 9 different clubs, and along the way in many different teams, many different cultures. So you learn how to handle people, to speak to people
from different backgrounds.
Exactly, from different backgrounds. Because playing in Turkey is different than playing in Thailand, and playing in Thailand is different than playing in Emirates. Emirates is different in Monaco. Monaco is different in Netherlands.
Yeah.
Right?
So you're not only going to experience a lot of people and a lot of backgrounds, but also you're going to learn how to manage yourself to adapt quickly to these kind of nationalities and different, mindsets.
Yeah.
What are the lessons that I would say you've learned from the field that you managed to apply within the business world?
So for me, something that really, on a later stage, I started understanding is that the fruits of your labor, they come after the process. All right. So there's a 5, what's it called? Like the 5 rules basically of life or business, whatever it is that it first starts with knowledge, right? In my case, at that time, it was football.
The football, yeah.
Then after it becomes a skill. You start implementing that knowledge, it becomes a skill, right? And after that, you start building a network because you start coming inside different areas because your skill becomes valuable. Sure. Now your network starts increasing. Yeah. And then after that, it becomes resources. Money comes, right? Connections come. You can tap into connections, which in this case is resources from your network. And then after, reputation comes, right? So at that time, during my football career, I didn't understand.
This is very insightful, Nacer.
Yeah.
I like it so much.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can't skip any. It's in order. So what most people nowadays do, and especially the youth, they want to skip all the way to reputation, right? They straight away want the high position, the high status, wanted to be known. Look at social media, everybody pushing status.
But it doesn't work like this.
Exactly. Yeah. It's against it's against the law.
I think it's a nature of any business.
Exactly. Yeah. So this is what I try to teach my kids, right? Start with knowledge and start implementing that knowledge. It becomes a skill. And you know, the funny thing is about the first 2 points is that you can always fall on them and you can always rely on them. Because reputation, you can always lose. Even though you have built a great reputation, within a second you can lose it. And resources, you can also lose. You have built great resources, you can lose them in any second. And same with network. You can lose network.
100%.
Right?
Yeah.
So all of those 3, which we all aim for, we can lose them.
Subhanallah.
But skills
and knowledge,
well,
nobody can take it.
Exactly. You can always rely on it.
Very insightful. This is very nice.
Yeah.
I've never seen it like this. But when you're saying it, like each step that we've managed to accomplish, I'm like,
yeah.
Like there's a light bulb moment. Oh, this is true. Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
So in terms of your background and coming up from the athletic field, obviously you had coaches, you had mentors. Give me one advice one of your coaches or one of your mentors gave you and you still have it, you still live by it till now.
It's a good one. Like one that really comes up straight away is one of the technical directors I had in the Netherlands, and we're doing pre-season. So the pre-season, it's really tough. If you ask any athlete, it's maybe the toughest period of the season because you're building up your stamina, you're training twice a day, you're away from your family. And so we were running, making a lot of runs. Nobody likes to run. 100%. Everybody likes to touch the ball, etc.
Correct, yeah.
So we were running, doing sprintings, and he stopped. And when we stopped, he told me, he said, Nacer, hurt yourself. Be prepared to hurt yourself. Go that extra mile and hurt yourself. Even though I was running with the team, I was doing the meters I had to do, he saw that I wasn't pushing myself all the way. And that really stuck with me. You know, I said, okay. And I had to think and reflect on it. And he saw that there was more. I could have run in front of the team. I could have run in front of them just instead of just doing the minimum, the bare minimum. Mm-hmm. So that really took me, like, now I'm running a business, and that is really what you need. Like, as a leader, as the one that everybody looks at, you can't do the same as all the other ones that you're managing. You have to do more, right? And you have to push yourself and hurt yourself. When it really, you think, oh, I'm so tired, you still go. You still push that extra mile. Mm-hmm. And that was just a small sentence from a technical director that really stuck with me. Yeah, and there are so many. But again, I think I already mentioned that once before. Robin van Persie, for example, huge legend, Netherlands, Arsenal at that time. And I was looking up to him immensely. And I was training with the first team in the Emirates Stadium. And I asked him as well, I said, look, you have all the nice things. You have the Ferrari, you have the big house, you have the status, you have the money and everything. I said, how does it feel? Because we also came from humble beginnings. So the goal was also making a lot of money. So I said, how does that feel? And I was hoping for a nice answer like, oh, it's amazing and stuff like that. And he said, you know, funny. He said, Ryan Babel is also a big player. he said he asked me the same question as well. And he said, look, for me, it's not about the money. Yes, of course, it helps me. It helps my family and it's nice to have. He said, but it's about the process. Each and every day, I'm trying to get better. And I saw it, how he trained was not the way I trained, right? And he told me examples. He was training with Dennis Bergkamp, big legend. And he said, after training, everybody's finished. We're just shooting hard, really hard balls, extremely hard towards each other and have to control them. And he said, I look at Dennis Bergkamp. He said, it's so amazing how he touches those balls. And I want to become like that. And that really made me think. And another time, he asked me a question. He said, we were in a changing room and he asked me, he said, look, he said, what do you want to become? I said, I want to become one of the best players in the world. And technically, skill-wise, I had those capabilities. But he said, okay. He said, what are you going to do about it? And my answer, I couldn't give an answer. I'm sure he looked at me and he must have thought, yeah, this kid is not ready yet. This kid is not ready yet because he doesn't understand my question. Because at that time, I was just being pushed and I let myself push, but I didn't push myself enough, right? Take all the talent out. And I remember when he said that, I couldn't answer. I said, training and this. But he knew that it needed a different answer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer was quite empty at that time.
Exactly. It was empty.
And this might reflect to you later on. So saying, I didn't know how to.
Correct.
I don't have the knowledge, maybe. I don't have the skill. What is it missing?
Yeah, correct.
And you're going to start reflecting.
Correct.
We all know that there is a lot of pressure in terms of business, right? So how your athletic world background helped you to handle pressure within business?
Yeah. That's a good question you're asking. Because even now, for example, I'm building a home service company here in Dubai. And we have started making 2 teams operational, right? But to get the clients, etc., takes a bit of time. There's procedures in there. But when employees are, for example, not working, right, they start putting pressure. So why I'm not working? What is this? Where the clients, etc. So this kind of pressure can break you, for example, or any pressure from employees or from management, higher management. But what football has taught me, you become bulletproof, right? You become bulletproof because there's so many pressures that you get in a professional career. Which now, it's like noise. It's just noise going past. Like when you're in a bullet train, it goes just like this. You can't even look at anything, right? You're just going really fast. But as an owner of the company, you have so many things to handle. Well, as an employee, you're just focused on 1 task or 2 tasks. But as the boss, you have so many things to manage, right? And if you're not capable of taking that pressure, you're gonna break. You're gonna break,
and all your business will fall down as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Because a lot of things, you're the main pillar, if I would say.
Yeah.
When I was an employee, very similar case. When I was an employee, and I only had one job to do.
Yeah.
Creating good videos.
Yeah.
But I also used to do freelance at the side.
Okay.
So in my mind, I'm doing a lot of things, a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm stressing out and this is big. And whenever I'm speaking to my friends, you cannot imagine I'm doing this, I'm doing that. It's very stressful.
Yeah.
And then when I opened up my business and the amount of stress that I was handling, especially at the first months, was insane. And I looked back to the days that I was thinking that I'm doing a lot of things.
Yeah.
Is that it? It's like, I was living the dream, man.
Yeah.
That's nothing compared to this. So your endurance will,
exactly. That's a good
go high.
Yeah, exactly.
Your endurance go high.
Yeah.
And I completely understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
But in terms of the lessons also, is there any similarities between running a successful businesses, but also the similarities between the athletic world? Is there any similarities? Because you've got a very interesting experience. Nobody comes from an athletic world to the business.
Yeah.
Maybe they come from a professional world, maybe a good employee, or maybe a high rank position or something. Then they go to a business. But you're coming from athletic world, business. How?
Yeah. Yeah, I think similarities are there. I mean, there are a lot of similarities, but again, I would say I will go back to the amount of pressure that you get, which you really can take into in business as well. There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of responsibility. But whereas in football, in this case, there's a lot of pointing to others, right? Because at the end of the day, if we lose, you can point to others, right? You can say, look, he didn't give me the pass.
Blaming.
Or blaming, exactly. When you're in business, there's no way to blame, only yourself, right? You have to take full responsibility. If you don't, you're not going to succeed in business, right? But in the high level of football, all the top players, they take full responsibility.
Got you.
And that's the difference as well. And that's the same in business, right? If you take full responsibility in business, you're going to make it. Maybe not with your first business, but you will eventually. Because if you take full responsibility, it will happen. But in case you start blaming your employees or your higher management or whatever, you're not going to make it. You have to take full responsibility.
100%.
And I think this is what football teaches you as well, the athletics, the professional football career, it does teach you. And again, like I said, you will get a lot of ups and downs in football.
Mm-hmm.
And there's the same with business. But then at the end of the day, in business, when things go right, all the other people, they get the success. They get the praise. You don't get the praise. Yes, you get the fruits. But at the end of the day, the employees, the higher management, they get the praise. And that's how it should be. You should praise them.
Correct.
But when it comes to
Mistakes.
football, no, I mean, when it comes to football,
yeah.
when you win, you score, you get also all the praise. And the coach doesn't get as much because the coach, they say, yes, he has good players. That's why he makes it.
Got you.
Yeah.
Got you.
So that's also a similar thing. Yeah. So the coach in this case is the CEO of a business.
Correct. Yeah.
He doesn't get the praise, but when it goes wrong, he's being sacked. He's being fired, right?
You know, Nacer, there's an observation. Whenever you see someone coming from the athletic world, professional world, and within like the years when he wanna, I don't know, like quit football or quit the sport, usually most of the players, the good players such as you, go towards coaching.
Yeah.
What was the main reason that let you not go into that road?
That's a very good question. Because look, we come back again at that 5 formula, right?
Okay.
The first one is knowledge. The second one is skill, right? As a football player, the only thing you know is football. Mm-hmm. And the only thing you can do is play football. So if you don't get out of your comfort zone, the first thing you do after your career is what? You become a football player or a football coach or an agent or whatever. Mm-hmm. You stay in that bubble. Mm-hmm. So that's why it's so important during your career that you prepare for it. I remember when we had when we had people coming to our changing room, or we had meetings. Even at Arsenal, we had a meeting about how to manage your finances or prepare for your career after football. Even myself, sometimes I wasn't bothered to listen and I didn't care because look, we're in the bubble of football, leave us alone. But I knew many of my colleagues, they didn't even bother at all. They were just focused on playing. Mm-hmm. And the monthly salary is every time coming. Mm-hmm. But when you stop playing, it's closed. There's no money. Mm-hmm. There's no money coming in. And then you get shocked. Okay, what I need to do now, I need to go into coaching because that's the first thing, knowledge and skill. Mm-hmm. So what I did during my career is trying to improve different skills, right? Mm-hmm. And that was from the moment of Monaco. When I started earning a lot of money, I started, okay, I need to manage it because it's scary. Mm-hmm. I hear all the stories of athletes, 70% or 80% of athletes go broke after the career.
Wow.
Yeah, it's amazing. And that's not only for football, that's for any sport.
Insane.
Yeah, so 80%. So when I heard this, I said, wow, it's not going to happen to me.
Okay, very interesting. Right. Now you tapped into something I really like. What are the skills that you implemented that helped you towards this goal?
Yeah.
Meaning that you are not just someone who knows football, but also knows how to do this.
Yeah.
What are the main skills that you've learned?
So I would say the first thing, the main one is curiosity. Being curious, right? And wanting to learn every day a new thing, right? Because one door opens another one. Mm-hmm. Whereas nowadays, a lot of youth, They want directly the door that opens it towards the golden nugget. But whereas you should focus on, okay, I take this door, it will open another door. And that one leads to another door. And that one leads to another door. And when I was 21, nobody teach me except for my brother. He gave me some personal books, personal development books. However, I needed to learn everything myself. I didn't have a mentor. So what did I do? I was curious. I just had meetings. I remember I was in the Netherlands. I just had a meeting with a huge real estate company. And I arrived there and I was young. They said, okay, but they were so helpful because they saw a young kid being interested. So I just asked them a lot of questions. And I had good money. I had very good money, but it wasn't the level they invest in. So I said the figure I had, thinking I'm a big shot. And they said, you know what? Yeah, we manage 20 million, 40 million per individual. So I wasn't on that level, but they appreciated my curiosity. And so they gave me connections. They gave me other numbers. Okay, you can try this guy, go to him, right? And I went to that guy and I collected knowledge. And building the network, right? So it started with knowledge. Again, I had to start from the ground up, whereas I built my knowledge in football and my skill in football. But now I had to restart all the way back. And I had to start, okay, how to invest. Real estate is a different thing than opening a business, right? So curiosity is the biggest thing, and wanting to learn each and every day. Even now, I'm a business owner, but still I have to each and every day have to develop. Even now, before the podcast, we were talking about AI. etc.
Yeah.
If you don't keep innovating and don't keep improving, you will be left behind. And that I would say, if I can choose one characteristic, it's curiosity. If I don't see that in anybody else, which I'm managing or trying to help, you don't see the curiosity, it's a dead end at the end of the day.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Very insightful, Nacer. So let's go back into business a little bit. You said you have a lot of stress, but also you're always learning. You blame yourself for your failure, even if you don't have the best employees. You always go back to yourself. What are the also skills or maybe like the traits that you can share for maybe new entrepreneurs that people are still, young, starting their own startups?
Yeah.
What would you really advise him with?
I think the best advice for starting entrepreneurs is just do it. Just go. Just do it. Nowadays, with the internet and all the tools we have, you can start a business today. Start. Make a start. Don't overthink. Because there's also something like too much knowledge, in a sense. Because you can stick with the same formula, the first bucket of knowledge, you can stick too long. But to create that skill, you need to implement what you learned, right? There's a lot of people nowadays, because we are bombarded with so many videos of people dropping knowledge. But most of the time, these people that drop knowledge, they have already implemented it. And that's why they teach you. But at the end of the day, you need to start implementing. You need to start doing, right? So I think this is also how you learn, entrepreneurship. There's no other way, right? And of course, take risks which are, thought of well, right? Don't go crazy. Don't take loans from people quickly, right? Take well overthought risks. But at the end of the day, you need to start, right? If you don't start, you're not going to learn at all. Because at the end of the day, entrepreneurs, the best ones, are the ones that see themselves not yet as the successful one, right? They know they have all the possessions already, the fruits of their labor. They see it. But at the end of the day, they know there's so much more to learn, right? When you're 34, it's not the same as 40, right? I know a good friend of mine here. He's one of the biggest real estate agents, Firas Al-Msadi. And he told me as well, he said, now when I'm 30, it won't be the same when I'm 40. And when I speak to his friends, his network, people that 40, 50, you see a different level, right? And they are on a different level. So you need to, always be open-minded and always, again, the curiosity to learn and to develop. If you don't have this, you'll be stuck.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what makes you really motivated when, you know, things are not really going well in your business?
I think, again, this, for me, not giving up has arrived from, again, my professional career. It's just getting those ups and downs and just overcoming them and knowing that nothing will last, right? At the end of the day, we will also part this world. And each and every test you will get, you will overcome, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says this, لا يكلف الله نفسا إلا وسعها. He won't burden you above your means, right? So you are able to defeat this obstacle, right? So if you know this and you have this conviction, it's just a matter of time you will overcome it, right? So in business, there's always fires to, to put water on. But if you see the fire and you think, wow, this is a huge fire, I can't, but you will see, you will overcome it. If this is your conviction, it's just a matter of time. And this is for me, never giving up, right? This is when I bite into something, it's just, I have to have tried every single means, every single tool, every single energy I've put into it to say, okay, this is a dead end. But then I can really look in the mirror and say, look, this hasn't worked. I've learned a lot along the way. Let's, go to a different route.
Maybe pivot.
Exactly, pivot. Else. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's what I meant. Maybe this door opens another door.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah. You could never know.
Exactly. Yeah. And this is why I say always to young kids or young guys or girls, look, start entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. You can open a website for $20 a month, right? Yeah. And just start. You will learn a lot. You will learn marketing. True. You will learn connecting. True. You will learn resourcing. Mm-hmm. You learn so many things.
Yes. You said something about learning and try to be always seeking knowledge. With this, it happens with us tremendously. The idea of pivoting towards something else, but also it won't be something if we didn't try from the beginning. Yeah. So started from a podcast studio, going to an agency model, then going to the coaching model, and then while all this happening, we're learning knowledge that we can sell as well. Yeah. It's like just a snowball going. Yeah. And when you go back and you look back, we started with a very small basic idea. Yeah. But that time it was like big in our mind, Yeah, yeah. This is something that you're literally describing right now. Yeah. But I know for sure as an entrepreneur or maybe a business owner, there are sort of routines that we all do in our days. But because you are coming from an athletic world, what is the one routine that you're still doing, but you've learned within those days?
So again, a lot of things I reflect to Islam, right? Okay. The routine starts with your morning prayers. If your morning prayers aren't there, trust me, success won't come, right? Like it described, before I didn't practice Islam, all things went downhill. The moment I started practicing Islam, things went uphill. Yes, I still had ups and downs, but I could manage them also better due to Islam. So the routines start with your daily prayers, right? In the morning, get up, even in football, there's early mornings. We have to be early at training. When we have training camp, we have twice a day training. You have to be on time. This is also something which I implement for my workers. You have to be on time, right? Whereas here in the Middle East, it's sometimes different, right? So being on time is extremely important. Do what you say, do what you promise, right? Treat others the way you want to be treated. These are immensely valuable things, right? I had a meeting the other day with a friend of mine, and we were having, lunch, and we had a couple of times lunch at that place. And each and every time, those people are really polite to him. They serve him differently than others. And yes, sometimes he gives a tip, but sometimes he doesn't. But still, they are very polite and very nice. And I said to him, you must have a stake in this company, right? In this restaurant, because they treat you different than others. Yeah. And my other friend said, no, he's just being good to them. He's being nice to them. He's being polite to them. He's respecting them. The way he wants to be respected, he's respecting them, right? So I think this is such a valuable information, and I can reflect this to one of our employees that we fired the other day. Right, we fired her, and it was for reasons because she wasn't treating her employees properly, even though she was one of our best workers.
Wow.
Yes, but we still fired her because she wasn't treating her employees properly. And I told her, because there were some escalations afterwards, and I told her face to face, I said, look, I said, no worker or employee will leave my company saying that I was mistreated, that I was not treated well, I wasn't paid on time well, I wasn't given my dues, I wasn't being respected, right? And every employee that will leave our company will go to a different company and notice the difference. For me, that's that is the golden rule. They have to leave our company knowing that, wow, what I had there, I will never get anywhere else. Yes.
Okay.
This is the way that the culture that you have to create within your company.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. You said you kind of care. I mean, about the repetition, not only you are presenting, but also even your team and team members. In terms of, we're talking about the team members, we also know that in football, you have a big team. Earlier you said, in football, you might start pointing and start blaming. But in reality, team can play a huge role of how successful you're gonna be.
Yeah.
So, like comparing sport, athletic world to a team, business team, like what are the main key component towards that?
Yeah. Again, every question you ask, I have a story for it.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I know, for
it's,
sure.
It's a good one because I remember when I was playing in the Netherlands for FC Utrecht, and I was doing contract negotiations. Normally, an agent does that for you. You have an agent doing that.
Yeah.
I was doing it myself.
Wow.
Yeah. Because at that time, the agent also was lacking. So I said, I would do it. So imagine me sitting with the boss, the owner of the company, and the directors. And the owner of the company is a huge multi-millionaire. Like he has, I think, a network of 200, 300 million euros. Huge company he built. Actually, he took out the submarine in Russia. There was a submarine sunk, and Putin asked him to take it out. Nobody could take it out, but he was able to take it out. This made him so successful. Anyway, so even though we were discussing the terms of the contract, etc., I was more interested in him,
in the guy,
than in the contract. And this is curiosity. I wasn't bothered mostly about my contract. I was asking him a lot of questions, and he appreciated it. So I asked him, I said, look, what made you this successful, right? How did you build this huge company, and are you so successful? He said, Nacer, he said the number one rule is your employees, your people. He said he didn't even name them employees. He said, my people, right? He said, my people are the most important ones. I treat them as they have a stake in the company. And he said, I treat them with maturity, meaning that I give them responsibility. I trust their skills and I trust their judgment. And this is how I build a great culture within the company. And this is what made me successful. They made me successful, right? And at the end of the day, they also became successful.
100%.
Yeah. 100%. So, and at the end of the day, this is the same with football, right? If you look at the biggest teams, they don't always win the championships. Look at, for example, great example, Paris Saint-Germain. They had Messi, Neymar, and Mbappé, and huge other players. But those three were considered one of the best in the world at that time.
Correct.
They didn't win the Champions League, right? Who won the Champions League? A lot of times, Real Madrid. Yes, they have immense players, great qualities. But you see, they must have a great team. They work together, they sacrifice for each other, right? They don't blame each other, they take responsibility. All of these things, that makes a great team. And if you want to build a big company, you have to implement those rules because there's no way around those rules. Just like gravity. There's no way you can jump from this building, but there's no way it's gonna end well.
Yeah.
Likewise, in life and in business, there are rules that you have to abide by, right? So really, this really stuck with me. And if such a successful person tells me this, you have to take it.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean again with curiosity. I could have sit there, negotiating my contract, just being focused on my contract.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, I asked him questions. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, he might also become more lenient towards me. He might also think, hey, he starts connecting with me as well, even though that was not my intention. Mm-hmm. But now he starts giving also more, like terms which he didn't want to give at that moment. Now he wants to, because you're genuinely interested.
Yeah, because he likes you as a person, not only just, a business transaction.
Exactly.
Yeah,
and people feel it. People feel it.
100%.
There's always a radar with people. People know if you're playing games or that you're really serious and you're genuine, right?
True.
And this is so important. Yeah.